Hello and welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur. And in year 8, we're taking head-on 2 of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sunanda Jayaseelan on the show tonight, bringing you key highlights and takeaways from a panel discussion that we did in Raipur, talking about Raipur riding the technology wave. Some of the city's biggest experts coming together on a platform to interact face-to-face with you, the entrepreneur. Listening to some of the key takeaways and highlights from that panel moderated by my colleague, Pooja Jain.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you're all fully aware, Raipur is, of course, one of the select cities that falls under the Honorable Prime Minister Modi's Smart Cities mission. But my question, and I'd like to open this conversation by posing it to you, Tarang, is prioritizing smart city development even the need of the hour, given that so many of our Tier 2 towns and Tier 3 localities are struggling for the very basics?
Thank you, Pooja. So when we talk about smart cities, and particularly talking about Raipur, I think this is a very well-validated step that has been taken and has to be ensured that goes on forward for the futures that we talk about. We should not have a myopic vision when it comes to smart cities. You know, we have to have a long-term 15, 20-year-long vision on the basis of which your various infrastructure will be created, be it technological, be it economic, be it physical, social, everything. And also, you know, moving outside the metros, you know, we see the challenges that are being faced by the Tier 1 cities right now. You talk about the population challenges, you talk about the lack of productivity owing to traffic jams, owing to, you know, snarls that are happening day in and day out. We see there's a strong sense of people moving back to their hometowns. And when they move back to their hometowns, I think smart cities are the way for the future. Also, what happens is when we talk about smart cities, we often tend to visualize a bullet train running through. You know, we tend to visualize something very, very concrete, but it actually begins with the people itself. Smart people and the human capital. You know, we are all from Raipur here. I believe most of us, when we wake up in the morning, we wake up to more Raipur, more Zimmedari. You know, that's a Swachhata Abhiyan that's been undertaken. And it is actually contributing to the human capital growth, which will in turn affect the smart city initiative of Raipur.
Sure, you know, and Tarang brings up some fair points, but Puru, I pose my next question to you, which is, there's so much talk about Naya Raipur, for example, and clearly it's an initiative aimed at diversifying this city's economy. But have you felt the impact of that transformation, or is it largely a slow-moving effort?
Yeah, so thank you so much for that. I'll say I have personally worked at Naya Raipur for a lot of projects. It's the first smart city, first integrated smart city of the India. So, you know, that has put Chhattisgarh in a global map of India. So even if some projects, I'll say, is delayed due to some of the other reasons, but yes, 90% of what the project actual cause was is done. So you might have already known that the entire, you know, bureaucracy and the administrative part of Chhattisgarh has been moved to Naya Raipur. So that has opened up a lot of opportunities for people in and around Naya Raipur, and also a concept that, you know, something of that level and at that extent can be pulled out successfully by any government of state, and also they can, you know, implement it in our day-to-day operations.
All right. Do you believe with that train of thought, Saurabh, do you believe that Naya Raipur has lived up to its expectations, and do you believe that it's a model that other cities ought to emulate?
Yeah, of course, Pooja, because Naya Raipur, the kind of infrastructure is being developed over there. It's definitely feels the requirement of a future city, which is, of course, different other cities of India, which is coming up, and even Kabul is like following the steps of the Naya Raipur. So the infrastructure is definitely up to the mark, and the government is also trying to build up, to bring the entrepreneurs into the ecosystem, to create the solutions for this connected smart city, Raipur, and of course the Naya Raipur. So in all together, the efforts are now coming into the effect, like now the people are realizing that how this smart city is evolving. So usually, if it's a little far away from the Raipur, so, but now the city is growing till the point and people are started moving towards that near Raipur and all. And now the sense of the smart city is coming into the city.
Well, Professor, what I'm very curious to understand is if opportunities are now being created and they're rooted in Naya Raipur, what sort of luck has this tier 2 city had in retaining tier 1 talent?
So it's like, retaining, talking about the students, right? So the way how it has to be done, you have development one side, and when the development starts, it has to be correlated with all the opportunities and all those things which comes to the city. So it's infrastructure, it's all technological advances, which gives opportunities in jobs and all those things, has to be there, which gets replicated directly into the tier 2 cities. And you stand apart in terms of other, you stand in competition with the tier 1 cities. It's like,
Well, Ankur, you're the student entrepreneur on this panel. So for first-time entrepreneurs in this audience, or serial entrepreneurs for that matter, give me a sense of what are the resources available at the disposal of entrepreneurs in this city?
I believe students are getting a golden opportunity. They are facing the golden time for upgrading their startup. We have a panel which have been a student entrepreneur. Like I know Saurav and Puru, both have been they have been a student entrepreneur. And this is a golden opportunity because a lot of funds are being provided with the colleges. Governments are being very adaptive with the student entrepreneurs. And I believe government is looking at what we are doing. They are helping us out. And there are many foundations out there who are helping us in. So I think this is a golden time for students for being an entrepreneur. But as per, there are goods, there are bads. As a student entrepreneur, many people don't take you seriously. You have to prove your mete first. Like if you are just going and saying somewhere like I do this, I do that, people will not care. You had to show the real mete. Like what is your real money? How you will generate revenue? So these are the things which students are not getting now. Means they need to get upgrade to all these basics. Like not only technology, you learn technology, that's not enough. You need how to sell. That's the core. If you know that, you will crack that. And people will learn with time. It's an ongoing process.
Sure. Well, Tarang, if we were to get more specific and peel back layers of the onion, right? For the benefit of this audience, what are the industry bodies in this city that perhaps represent their voice?
So, Pooja, one of the things that became abundantly clear was Raipur is a very, very close-knit circle, which overlaps industry, academia, and government. You know, you have that on the panel right now as well. So we already have the Confederation of Indian Industry, which is doing some fabulous work, working and liaising with the state government itself. As young Indians, which we are also a part of, so we've been able to reach out to college students directly, and we've been bringing them into the fold of entrepreneurship, internships, and training across industries, across the leading industries of Chhattisgarh as well. One of the most pertinent and most beneficial aspects of being in Raipur is the administrative and the government access that we receive. In Raipur and in the state of Chhattisgarh, you know, we have a very open door policy with a lot of the government officials, and it's an easy walk-in. You know, the tier 2 benefits that we talk about, these are the things that will be severely, severely lacking in a Delhi or a Bombay, where you'll just keep doing rounds.
Now, the risk appetite of a student is obviously drastically different from the risk appetite of a professional that's already in the workplace, right? So what I'm very curious to understand from you, Saurabh, is in your incubator, what percentage of the companies are student-run? And, for example, for what time horizon do you actually nurture them to a stage of maturity?
So, Pooja, we have a very good mix of student entrepreneurs and the full-time entrepreneurs. At present, out of our 110 startups which we have, out of that 10 are at present student and working on their startup idea. And apart from that, we give a lot of flexibility to the students that they can do like work on their from the college premises. They can come in between to the programs and workshops which we are conducting it. The best thing about the student entrepreneurship is about they bring the new ideas, and they are the people who are living in the new technologies. So they always try to do things in a new way.
Sure. But on the flip side, There's no denying that in cities like Raipur, there is such a strong presence of multi-generation, family-owned and operated businesses. And so much of the time, there's a strong pressure on that generation to join the family business. It's secure, it's politics-free, and why, for example, venture out, risk yourself financially, risk yourself in a professional profile perspective when you could always join the family business. So that said, I'd like to understand from each of you, before you took your first step towards entrepreneurship, was there a safer option that you essentially put on the back burner?
I was asked to sit in placement myself, but I should say things are now being changing. Like government are really bringing the cash flow in. So there were things like first you do this, first you generate traction, then people will support you. But things are being upside down now. In just taking my college example, we have been given the basic funds to support and to raise up to a mass level. Then we had to move on. So these are the basic things. Option is being given now. I want to say this. Option is being given now that there is a placement, there is a startup. What you want to choose? A family business is still working. Many are joining family business out of peer pressure, but some are revolting their parents like, I want to do my own startup, I have my own idea. They are pushing it, they are proving them. First you had to prove your family, then to market, then to audience. You have a good traction out there to prove yourself.
I'm going to slip into a short break on that note. When we come back, we will continue bringing you highlights of that panel discussion from Raipur. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. We're bringing you highlights of a panel discussion that we've done in Raipur, part of our initiative here at the Times Network to connect face-to-face with you, the entrepreneur. We travel across the country, details on where we're headed to next and which cities we're going to be covering coming up on your screens at the end of the show. Do stay tuned for that. For now, listen in to some of the key takeaways.
While we can talk about technology all we want, we of course know that Raipur is the country's, steel capital. I think there are upwards of 200 steel mills here, there are upwards of 200 iron manufacturing plants, all of whom are of course embracing technology at rapid pace. But Tarang, does this create opportunities for the smaller players? Is technology, a sort of a leveler, if you will, or do the larger players continue to rule the roost?
So, in continuation with one thing that we were discussing previously, I believe it's a misnomer when people say a family business-oriented work is a risk-free job. People coming in right now, and especially young ones, they are even more enthused and they're more even excited to take it up to a 10x instead of what was already handed down to them. For which the startup tendencies are being adopted even in the large organizations. So when we talk about the adoption of technology, what is happening now is we are getting a lot of these technology-based and AI-based setups that are being integrated into large and mid-sized manufacturing firms, irrespective of where they're coming from. We have to see tech outside of the scope of just a software or an app. We have to see tech in the form of automation for industries. And when that comes in, that goes across the industry. It's a drip-down effect that goes from top to bottom. I don't think smaller industries tend to lose out in this because as we've seen in Raipur, competition is always a great enabler. Yes, you have a slight sieving through that happens at the churn of every industry, but that is also a big incentive and actually a good motivator for people to bring that up. For people to adopt innovative practices, for people to adopt smart practices, as we talk about, in order to ensure that when this cycle comes, they actually maximize the gains out of those. So I think it's a conversation that goes both ways with people and with young ones coming into family businesses with the desire to do a 10x to what was handed over to them, and at the same time ensuring that all of these technology gains that we are doing can be integrated into core businesses as well and aren't taken in silo.
Sure. And Professor, I'd love your viewpoint here. With so many MNCs now setting up, a sizable presence in this city of Raipur, or Naya Raipur, if you will, does this open doors for the smaller technology startups, or does this pose a threat to them?
It's always a healthy competition which is there. When the bigger industries are here and the bigger setups are there, it always helps the young startups to get into a part of it. Either they work with them, or else they get amalgamated with them. So it's always, I suggest that this is always a better part. And talking to him, what he was telling about family businesses and all, family business is just like, it's a community businessing. It's a very smart thing which I have observed. Many of my students have been coming to me and stating this. So they have to follow their father's footsteps just to join the business, but apparently they are getting down into a different set of business and they start their own businesses. That's how the trend is following. So neither they want to deny their business, the family business, and they are coming out with other business. Raipur is meant, you said steel industry, I must say it is a hub of steel, power, and also the cement industry.
Absolutely.
So you have to. So every industry is now on a background. Once it comes back, I think it will be the most prosperous capital of any other state.
Absolutely. Now, we heard from Monocular, and Monocular is an example of a company that is completely capitalized on a market need, and a very location-specific market need, if you will. You run an incubator. What are other sectors that are perhaps untapped, that haven't captured the attention of the masses, that entrepreneurs could really enter and receive a first mover advantage in?
Yeah, sure. So, Pooja, before going to this question, I would like to add my point on the family business thing. Of course. So we have seen recently we have seen a very big phenomena happening in this part of the world. Last month only we did a very, very successful event with Chamber of Commerce, Chhattisgarh. So at that event, there were 550 plus something very senior businessmen. We are listening to 20 plus something entrepreneurs pitching their ideas, what they can bring, add value to their business, or if they can provide an opportunity to invest in their startups. So that was a big phenomena happening here, because no one was expecting that this senior people, even whether if they hear their younger generation to bring changes in their business, but now they are very open to the idea of change. And that heralds a new era in this part, that even the older generation now hearing the younger generation to bring changes in their own business, and also finding out new business opportunities where they can invest in. And this gives a very good advantage to a city like Raipur, which is a hub of business for this central India, if you can say. So here, the younger generation of this business families are going to Bangalore or Pune to study, and then when they come back from the cities, they bring new ideas and new exposure to their family business. They adopt to new changes. We have an entrepreneur, 20 plus guy who came from Bangalore and went to his uncle's factory and saw that there is absolutely a very manual operations over there. And then he came up with the idea of automating all the process and all. So these are some of the instances. This is a regular case. We keep hearing about getting ideas from these young people.
Sure. Now, Puru, you're an entrepreneur. So what I'd like to hear from you is, if there are entrepreneurs in this audience that are seeking funding, right? Whose doors do they knock on in this city? I mean, do venture capitalists exist here in sizable numbers? Do they have an appetite for Raipur-based opportunities, or are most of the Raipur-based startups largely funded by friends and family money?
Yeah, sure. So I have one person on stage with me who can, fund them, and many others here. So there are many, old established players in the market who are coming forward in the startup race, you can say, who have the fund, who have an appetite for risk, and they are actually funding the newer startups. So, I can name investors who have invested, being in Raipur, at least in 20, 30 startups out of their own pocket. And there are chapters coming out from here who are, funding in small ticket sizes, but is creating a huge impact.
Sure. And this is a combination of angel investors and institutional investors.
Exactly. Yes.
All right. All right. Do you find that to be true, given that you're the student entrepreneur here?
Yeah, it's truly. Indeed, because we have seen a lot of startups grooming here, and we have seen a lot of investors years, investing in local startups as well as international startups. Other places they are investing. So there are many people to approach out. There are many organizations to approach, and they are willingly listen to everyone.
There are a lot of funds available with the government, DST supports, METI government supports, and there are a lot of funds which gets wasted. So DST also has a fund which is called as Sitare, which is the Young Entrepreneur Award. BRAC also had advertised all those things. So all those funds gets wasted. So instead there should be an education that where to procure these funds from. One, we are organizations, we are very professional. We talk about only venture capitalists, we talk about angel investors. We never go to government organizations which they are ready to invest and which they are ready to disburse at any cost to all those potential entrepreneurs based on all the policies, the government policies which we have. So I think the major stress should be on that, and that's how the education, it needs to be educated to the public and even the potential entrepreneurs, serial entrepreneurs, as well as the student startups.
Taran, do you agree with that assessment that favorable government policy exists to foster entrepreneurship here, but the real problem is an awareness issue?
So, absolutely. When we spoke about Raipur as a manufacturing or a startup hub, when we talk about a business hub, we are actually very blessed to be in Raipur. You look at the geographical location. Raipur is on a 12 to 1500 proximity from Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta. Absolutely, it's bang in the middle with access to all the ports and all the major towns and all the major cities. We've had a very, very stable political regime and a very cooperative and a very respectful government and administrative machinery since the inception of the state, for which we haven't faced the challenges which a lot of other states have been facing. And when we talk about that, naturally it comes to being that yes, there is a certain bit of awareness that still needs to go out. People need to know about the avenues more. Those opportunities are coming through various platforms, through various organizations, be it 36 INC, be it Young Indians, be it any of these organizations that help be the bridge between the government and the individual itself.
Well, I think that makes a wonderful note upon which to close this panel discussion. I have to thank all of our panelists for sharing so many anecdotes from their personal and professional journeys. A huge round of applause for them, please.
All right, that's our show tonight. If you have any feedback for us, we love hearing directly from you, the entrepreneur. Our contact details up on your screens in just a moment. Do let us know what you thought of tonight's panel discussion. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.